like listening to him very much.
Oh my God. I put on Art Bell, Terrence McKenna, and I was like, holy fuck, this guy. I was like, Jesus Christ, because he just goes off on like every tangent. Like he doesn't stay
he
up,
just
like,
keeps going and going.
Who is it?
So
we'll talk
Terrence
about
McKenna,
it here. We'll
okay.
talk. I've got him in here. Don't worry, because he's like
he's a very key figure in all of this.
He jacks off to this stuff. So, but speaking of jacking off, welcome to Almost Normal.
Fair enough.
That's a perfect segue, right? Welcome back.
Yeah,
Sorry, we haven't done a show in a while. It's Christmas. Believe it or not, we actually do have families and people that care about us, so we do have to attend those things. So
can you please speak for yourself, Richard?
You have a wonderful wife and
just kidding.
A wonderful dog. What a beautiful dog.
I do.
It really is. And she wears hats too, by the way. So
yeah,
she does.
And for those of you listening, joining me, the bald, the beautiful, in his pot smoking hoodie, Robert Bragan.
This is the drug rug. This is Alex gave me back. Apparently, it was mine like from a decade ago or something.
He is in the hipster bar in the corner.
Are you doing the 10-year challenge?
He's doing something. No.
It just happened to pop up, and I was like, well, we're doing an episode on drug related, so might as well.
Me and Bob can't do that challenge because the amount of hair difference is substantial.
Yes,
it's all of it. So, and joining us, welcome back, Billy. Billy, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful.
Doing wonderful. Had a wonderful Christmas. I saw Cabo had a wonderful Christmas. So glad that you guys are doing well. And Billy, tonight you chose the topic that we're going to talk about, which is entities that you see on psychedelics, and mostly I focused on DMT because it's pretty specific. Yeah. So what about this were you like, okay, we need to dive into this?
Well, I just think it's really interesting. There's so many people have had so many experiences where they've all said similar situations where it's a being that inhabits this realms. So, we'd like to talk about cryptoids on here a lot. I think it's like a different look at it because maybe there are other things living in different areas of space and time that we can't really even conceive.
Get it, Cabo. Get it, Cabo.
Yes.
Get it.
Yes,
she heard her name. She's like, yeah. Yeah. And when I was looking this up too, I didn't realize how many people were like seeing the exact same.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
So when we get into that, I brought some firsthand big sources, so we should be good. But before we get started, I'd like to remind everybody you can see us on Facebook. We do put all of our episodes are on Spotify, and we're beginning to put our episodes on YouTube as well, if that's easier for you to listen to. Some people have an aversion.
We have 3 up so far or something like that.
Yeah, people have a weird aversion to Spotify, so whatever, I don't care. We'll try to make it work. Just remember, I'm a fucking idiot when it comes to this computer stuff, so hang with me. We've done, this is our what? Is this 20 or is this 19?
I don't even know what we're on. I haven't been paying attention.
This is our 19th episode. So it's been pretty spotty, like a lot of women out there. That was a bad one. That was so bad. But before we get started, Billy, we're gonna cover some current news with you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Catch up to speed.
So if you haven't been watching any news lately, well, if you watch CNN, all you hear about is January 6th. If you watch Fox News, all you hear about is January 6th and how it wasn't bad. So if you've looked at any other news sources, there's riots in Kazakhstan where they've taken control of a couple government buildings and have pretty much effed shit up. Firefights, things like that. They've taken the government over almost, in a sense, over rising fuel prices and income disparity and lots of economic problems there in an authoritarian state that is rich in oil but shares it with nobody but the high class elite. So they're not happy. Speaking of that, their friend Russia, building up on the Ukraine border, they're set to meet with NATO this week. So that'll be fun. You look at two places in the world where a giant war could start: Ukraine and Taiwan right now. So,
Yep.
yep.
There's an article that just went up that says Russia warns that U.S. doesn't understand its goals on Ukraine. I think we get it.
We understand it.
Yeah, I think we know what they want.
Yeah, they want Ukraine. Now Russia is making a lot of weird, crazy demands, which is kind of scary because the thought being the end goal might be that obviously the U.S. is going to meet some crazy weirdo demands. Russia will say, "Well, we tried," and then they'll just invade. So,
I mean, yeah, that's what it seems like because it's going to happen. But
yes, the NATO as a whole and the United States, and specifically probably Germany and the UK, need to decide whether we will be letting that happen or not. So very important decisions to be made about the sovereignty of a country.
I don't really see anybody stopping it.
It all depends. It all depends. Sometimes these things are flare-ups. Sometimes we don't know. They could be probing us to see how we react to. Moving on from widespread world devastation and the end of our living, we move on to the weird weather that's been happening this beautiful month of December and January. Right?
Rich, those things go hand in hand, my friend.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to be doom and gloom in the current news, but we recently had a storm that all in one had created wildfires, dust storms, tornadoes, blizzards, ice, and flooding. So that was all one storm. You mean you've got F5 tornadoes in the middle of December in the south, Virginia covered in snow. We just got a bunch of ice here, but that's normal here. But just the pattern of weather right now is not. I mean, you guys had what, a 60-degree day up your way in the
we just got what, like 8 to 10 inches or something like that. It's all gone.
But before that, you were having some nice weather.
We were still having summer. I was still in a t-shirt at work.
Billy was outside fishing.
Well, I mean, I don't think the weather was that odd around here because we have had warm Christmases. It was weird to have that warm New Year's, but
yes,
I mean, I can think of a couple. I mean, for the last like 4 years, I can think of multiple times where it was this warm in December.
It's getting normalized.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, not getting snow until mid-January. I mean, our snow's all gone, so not even stuck.
Yep. Go ahead, Billy. What were you saying?
It's been a long time coming where I'm always like, is it going to be a white Christmas this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, the winter seems to start later in the year
and last longer.
Yes. Once you get into it's just.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of snow in like May sometimes, just a final snowstorm in May. Yeah.
So always excited about global warming. So
always excited.
Sorry, other generation, but fuck you.
Yeah.
You're done.
It's passed on from us.
Yeah, we tried. Well, we didn't really try.
No.
I've got 2 plastic bottles right next to me, so I can't say that I'm doing the best.
Doing it.
But, yeah.
What's this other news thing that you got going on?
Oh, the last one. This is a good one. There's a fundamentalist cult in Colorado called the 12 Tribes. They're your run-of-the-mill like child labor and abuse of young people and Christian cult thing. It looks like they may have started that giant Marshall Fire that was out in Colorado. It's a possibility the FBI is investigating that because all of their houses burnt down and the start of the fire started from their development. So just fundies being fundies out there, blaming their problems on everybody that's not white and Christian. So nothing like burning down, a good part of Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, but
and then speaking of fires in today's news, there was that Bronx fire.
Bronx fire. Yeah, there's several people dead. People jumping out of the building and
I
stuff.
feel like 19 so far.
Do we have any good news?
No, well, not today.
Oh, I mean, did you guys have any?
mean,
I don't have anything good.
Oh.
Bob
And then the
Saget
other-
died.
Bob
That's not
Saget.
good, but
That's not good.
No, that's the worst. That's even worse. Like, what are we doing? Sorry guys, but I don't even have a good segue for this. It's just shit news all around, guys. So the
Yeah.
Omicron variant isn't as deadly, they say. So pat on the back to us. Good job. Good job us for allowing
Good
a
job for
non-deadlier
mutating it.
variant to take over the United States and surge through hospitals. So good job. Proud of us.
you know,
Oh.
after 2 years, we're working on it.
We're making progress, just letting
Mhm.
everybody get it, and it's not as deadly. So we lucked out. We'll move on from current news because it's pretty depressing. But let's get into our talk. No segue, just straight up. We're talking about
Raw, just going raw.
raw dog cryptids that people see mostly on psychedelics, and how they connect to a different conscious reality. So the thought is behind this: when you take psychedelics, your brain opens up to a whole different dimension. It's not that you're hallucinating; it's that your eyes are open to a world that we're not able to see when we're sober. Would be the thought behind these. I just call them, they're called machine elves for DMT. But Billy, what?
Yeah,
what
I was about to say, Billy.
DMT and
Well, Billy, we go way back, and I know that you're like the kind of the father of this area, doing all that stuff. So
I'm not going to call him out. I was going to let him do that himself.
I mean, I was gonna get there, so it's all right.
Yeah.
I'll let Bob take over.
If at any chance that you want to speak up and say anything about whatever we're reading during this and saying, "Oh, that doesn't sound right," or "Hell yeah,
Mhm.
brother," let us know.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, have you done DMT, Billy? And you don't have to answer that.
Yes, I
Have
have
you
done
seen-
DMT, and I've done quite a bit of DMT.
Now,
Yes,
you
I
s-
have
Really?
had experiences myself with it. Yes,
Did they
I've
look
had
like
two
the
different
pictures
experiences.
I shown you earlier in Discord?
No,
The Greg one?
no.
It didn't?
So I both of mine are very vastly different entities that I saw. The first one was actually just from inhalation DMT, so that's what we're going to read most of our stories about. And it was not really a machine elf at all. I call him Plus Face. I was in this, it was almost like a cube, okay? And it was his realm. And he was like connected to the floor and connected to the walls. And everything was white with this red flowing geometric lines that are going all through the walls and all the way into him. And his face was just a plus, a red plus, and he was all white too. And his arms were like stuck to the walls, and he was like almost like one of the wacky inflatable guys, the way he was moving. And but it was his space, like, and I was a fly on his wall. He looked at me a couple of times, but he didn't really interact with me at all. And then every once in a while, he'd make this sound. It was like a womp, and the whole cube would shift, and my whole perspective would change. And I wasn't sure if he was moving me, but I really felt more like he was moving his space, like, and he was controlling everything in there. And I was just, this was his area, and I could feel that. And I was just a fly on the wall watching him do it. And I wasn't scared of him, but he was definitely in control of what was happening. And he was the one making the motion of everything.
I love
Is
it.
that is a plus face man is he a common, or is other
no
people
I mean
not
not that I've ever seen anything. I've never seen him again either. You know, I've used DMT quite a few times, and I've only had entities 2 times. Most of the time there are like, it's a hyperspace situation. The entities themselves, like it's so different once you actually see the entities, because the way everything's happening in regular DMT when you're you know, when you're going through it, there's a couple like different stages, but a lot of it's like a tunnel that you're flying through of how like hyperspace is geometric lines and shapes and colors that is constantly changing. And you have all kinds of emotions and feelings and stuff like that. And you almost don't even realize that you have a body anymore. But when there is an entity there, the feeling is so much different because they are unnaturally moving in this world. Like this world almost has a natural flow to it. And that's the most incredible thing to me was like they really feel like they are inhabiting it.
Damn.
And that's why I thought it was such an interesting subject.
When you hear it firsthand, it's a lot better than what I was reading on Reddit. I'm gonna tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was reading this, I was like, oh my fucking God, I really do want to try DMT, but Renee told me no. So, but I mean,
I got a few questions, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if it pertains to this right now. I mean, we're going over, I guess, what you know about it. But when you're, riding the ride, are you just sitting and chilling, like, and then like you're just,
or do you move? Do you move around, or what do you?
No, so a lot of the times when you use DMT, you lose a lot of motor function. Most of the time when I would use it, I would lay down and close my eyes because I find it gives you the best experience because it allows you to forget self a lot more and you're able to get out of your body and get farther. If you do keep your eyes open, like it does create a different layer on top of everything. And if you use enough, you just kind of lose what is around you. And then you still go through that, but it's easier to get there and you fight it a lot less. And it's a lot less scary, in my opinion, if you do just lay down and let it take you. So that's how
it's not like other psychoactive drugs that
it's not
moving around.
And with inhalation too, it's generally really quick. So it's like a 15-minute trip or duration. So, you lay down and you feel like you're gone forever, but really you just haven't moved for 15 minutes. A lot of times people get a feeling of like pissing or shitting themselves when they're going to, like they feel like they lost control. A lot of people do. They like sit up and they check themselves because
they wear diapers and shit.
No, but I've never seen anybody actually pee themselves. I did see a kid one time stand up and have to like try to find the bathroom because he thought he had to pee, but he really just didn't. It's just that feeling. So yeah, it is an interesting phenomenon too that I've noticed in a lot of people, and I felt that myself. But I just, I figure when that's happening, it's like, well, I'll deal with this when I wake up.
I love how you were sane enough during it to just be like, all right, I am tripping, and if I did piss myself, we'll figure it out later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, because there's just so much more going on that it's just not your own, and then slowly, especially. It depends on how much you use too, because if you get past a certain point, you don't know what you were anymore. Like you still are like conscious of yourself of a sort because this is all happening to you, but you're not in your body anymore. You're in the other realm.
Jeez, see now, Renee, if you're listening, it's only 15 minutes. Just let me
see. That's it. Well, is that the normal thing? Is it like 15 minutes and you're like bone sober? Is there like a come down?
So it's 15 minutes and then probably like an hour afterglow. It is extremely profound experience. So people I've seen people cry afterwards and stuff like that. But after that, like, you do have like an afterglow that lasts, but it's not like you are high at all other than like, an uplifted mood.
See, that's what I was the one thing that I saw, and I didn't put the scientific name for DMT because I'm not going to fucking do that. Mm-hmm. But it's a recreational drug that induces hallucinations and time dilations in a shorter time than other recreational drugs. So that was going to be my next question, which you answered. Does it feel like that 15 minutes is like way longer than 15 minutes?
Yeah, I mean that 15 minutes, it could be eternity sometimes. When you're out there, you don't time is just, it no longer has precedent over that world.
Well, it just sounds like salvia to me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, salvia is, I've used salvia only once actually, but it was an extract, a very strong version of it. And it is kind of very similar in the way that it takes you, but salvia is just scarier and meaner. And like everything about salvia is not nice to you. This is very pleasant.
Don't do salvia.
Generally, DMT and ayahuasca and like the psychedelic communities is considered like the mother. And, it does feel like a caring, like like a
Oh, okay.
nurturing, rather than salvia as like a witch's brew. So it's a lot.
Ayahuasca is the one that you like puke everywhere, though, right?
So yeah, ayahuasca
Yeah.
actually that is DMT. So with ayahuasca, DMT cannot pass the blood-brain barrier when you eat it, but if you take it with an MAOI inhibitor, it is able to, and that takes the trip from a 15-minute trip to about a 3-hour trip.
No,
The reason
no,
you
like
puke is the reason that you puke is because it just they're both
Yeah.
come normally you mix two different barks together, and those barks are just hard on your stomach. I actually, my second encounter with the entities is from an ayahuasca trip, not from just an
Oh,
inhalation DMT trip. And these ones, this is the most meaningful one because they actually were interacting with me. And the term elf would almost fit a little bit better with these guys because they were very small. Um, so I used this DMT, the ayahuasca, and I never actually laid down or closed my eyes. I paced the whole time. I did black out for a bit because I took so much, I believe. But when I and there was a time where I really thought my only thought that I had in my head was, "Whoops, I killed myself," because I was just
Fair
I
enough.
had no
enough.
there I was
Oopsie
where I
poopsie.
was so much farther than anything I'd ever experienced at that time. But then that's when I met these things. I don't know how to really explain them because I never really saw like they didn't have a physical shape. They were able to move completely on their own. Everything, of course, was like geometric shapes around them, all over the walls, all over everything. But and they didn't speak a normal language, but I could understand them.
Could
If
you
anything, they were
mimic what they were saying? Like,
no, I couldn't. The way like it's almost like telepathic, like you know this language, but you don't know it. And as soon as it goes in your ears, it's instantly gone of what it was actually how it was spoken. If that makes any sense at all.
no.
Yeah.
But I'd say that they were almost like Pac-Man or like Langoliers or something like that. The way they were definitely like in a rounder shape, and the way that they moved on the walls and stuff, and they almost moved in grid-like patterns. But the best part about them was they were not. I did not feel like they were aggressive or anything like that. But I didn't feel like a lot of people call them like guides or higher beings. They definitely knew so much more than me, but I did not feel like they were the highest being. And it was kind of like I walked into a bar in Boston and everybody was ragging on me. And the joke was so funny that even I found it
Look at
funny.
this white
And they were
motherfucker
just
tripping
they
in
were
our
just
universe.
well yeah, well they were just tearing me apart, like just laughing at everything that I was.
Can you
Like
see my screen
one
at all,
second.
Billy?
Yes, I can.
Is it anything like this? Is this like
No, so that's like what the walls are doing, things like
that's
that.
what I'm okay?
All of those Alex Gray things and stuff like that. But they were inhabiting that space freely. And so those like if you scroll up to any of the Alex Gray pictures, he's a big DMT artist. Like the guy with the I don't know, just click on any one of them, honestly. It's like those, yeah, like that one right there. That's a perfect one. Like that kind of things are constantly in motion along everything with different colors and always
Oh,
changing
yeah,
and flowing.
I would get
And
sick.
that's like the hyperspace situation of it. But these things are inhabiting those kind of worlds and they're freely flowing.
So if you're at home, just look up DMTLs and you'll get a sense of what we're kind of.
But I honestly, they were so meaningful because the way they were making fun of me, it made so much sense because it made me just. It was just
you
like
didn't get offended or try to fight them.
no, I was laughing the whole time because they were right. You can't. They were showing me how they were right as they were talking about it, and I was able to feel how they were right, and I was like connected to what they were able to understand about me. But it was so funny to them the way I thought, the way I was, what my breakdown of my body was, and it almost felt like I was one of them. Like somewhere deep down, we were the same.
It's something that when you talk about it, even trying to understand it, I don't think it's something anybody could understand until they do it.
Yeah, and that is another thing. And that's what makes this so incredible is it's such a profound thing. Like anybody who has used DMT before will tell you that it was something very different than they could ever understand was possible. Even if they didn't like it, anything like that. Like it opens up like the idea of what is possible in this reality to wow, that was something I could have never conceived before I did that.
That's amazing though. I am kind of jealous. I'm
Yeah.
really jealous. Um,
Yeah.
so just to get into it, we'll start. I mean, this is something like we talked about. Is it's not like, oh, Billy just saw it. It's like a majority of people who take DMT see these things. So Rick Strassman at the University of New Mexico notes in his studies that the use of DMT can create feelings of communication with intelligent life forms, like you just spoke about, and it's most commonly referred to as DMT or machine elves, and that term is coined by Terence McKenna, which, like I said, we'll talk about at another point. But so a lot of the things too I found, Billy, is that like in these imagery is like gears and machinery and like things that moving parts that work together all the time.
And is that just the geometrical patterns that they form while you
Well,
see
like
everything?
specifically like gears in like not like not like
A lot of
steampunk machinery, but you know what I mean?
no.
Like
Well,
D-
a lot of the imagery and stuff like that from art. A lot of it like is like kind of Fibonacci sequences
Mhm.
and stuff like
A
that.
lot
shit
of
like
it is
that.
very like mechanical. It really is.
Yes.
Everything, the way everything is like geared, like the Fibonacci things, and the way like it really is, and it makes it there. There's almost a math to it.
Now the thing that is kind of weird too when you think about it, and I'll go a little George Norrie here, is when you think about how the Bible and a lot of old ancient religions discuss angels and demons and stuff,
Hmm.
it was like those geared looking creatures.
Yeah, it is. And when you look at pictures of like what angels are supposed to look
Yeah,
like I look
like
at that, I'm
crazy
like, that's
things.
the kind of things that you experience on DMT
Yeah.
with all the eyeballs and the gears and everything like that. Like that could be
That was
easily
like a
translatable to that.
Jesus Christ. I'm scrolling through at this scroll up to get this
Yeah,
article and
you're
look at
gonna
all
have
these
to.
pictures that you fucking put in here, like colors popping out of pussies and stuff. But
I was giving Bobby inspiration.
I had to
yeah,
look up some stuff.
Jesus Christ. Bobby looks up enough of that, Billy. Now, so a lot of those feelings too are something that kind of it seems like when I'm reading this, those feelings form a stronger opinion of what you're seeing. So like this article from freethink.com about DMT users goes into some surveys. So it says like encounters produced an emotional response from 99% of people. Obviously 1% is like probably psychopaths. With the most the most common
Yep.
emotions were probably joy, trust, surprise, love, and then it goes down to kindness, friendship, fear. Very little on like sadness, distrust, anger. Those are all like 10% below her. And it also states that encounters felt more real than reality for 81% of people doing it. And people describe them as these entities that they saw as just beings, guides, spirits, but just they were just there. Just
Hmm.
they weren't anything but them there. That's I don't know how to really put that in a sentence structure, but
No, yeah, they were there. And
yeah,
that's I don't call mine elves, especially the ones from ayahuasca. I call them because that's all I could think of when it was them.
yeah, and like I said, the study goes on. It a lot of people, like 90 or 3/4 of it said they believe these beings weren't just like hallucinations. They're like those were real things, and a lot of them said like 96% of them said they were conscious, intelligent, and you know benevolent, like not not out to hurt you, not out to kill you,
Yeah, not
just
aggressive.
intelligent things that brought you joy and a weird euphoric. I guess I don't know. I don't know what word I would use to describe that, but that's. It seems like something that is overall like a huge positive experience more
Mhm.
than it is anything else.
Negative.
Now, this article also goes on to say that a lot of people received a message, task, mission, purpose, or insight. To quote this article, did you receive anything like that when you?
I mean, I think the message I definitely took away from it is, it was just how stupid we all are and everything that we do and how meaningless it kind of is.
If one of those little fuckers tries to tell me how stupid I am, I'm gonna punch him right in his sock. right in his colorful, glowing, shape-shifting cock.
They don't just tell you; they show you too.
I'll show
it's like a court case, and they got.
Oh, you muted yourself for a minute, Billy. You got overly excited about it. Went ham on your phone.
Now with some of the stuff, Billy, like how mushrooms can help with like depression and stuff like that. Does DMT help with anything?
Yes, it absolutely helps with depression. For me, every time I've used it, it gives me about like a month long better feeling. It makes me just happier in general, but that does go away.
No, I mean, I didn't really read any of the negative side effects. I didn't dive too much into the physiological stuff because I didn't.
Yeah, because we're talking about the entities. That's the crypto.
But at the same time, I don't know. It's interesting to think about before we start jumping into primary source stuff here. It's interesting to think about: do those short-term effects, are they way more beneficial than if there's any negative effects that I couldn't speak to because I didn't look up anything on it. But
I believe that it is beneficial, and it is something that I think anybody who's willing to try and thinks that it's something that's interesting to them should try it. I have only seen one person have a negative time on it, and I've seen a lot of people. I mean, it's quite a significant number of people use it for the first time. But again, it is a dangerous substance, and you should always take it with any kind of respect because, it's a psychoactive, extremely powerful psychoactive drug. So if you do have negative effects, it could be very bad. So it's also something to think about.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, as far as like brain function goes, I don't know if it does any. I know acid, correct? Overuse of acid will really kind of stunt you in the long run.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, just like anything, if you don't respect it, then you can have a very bad time from it. It's a drug.
Good shit.
At the day, no matter how spiritual you look at it, it is a drug.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of jealous. So let's get into some thoughts from, with some groundbreaking thinkers here. So Reddit user Bomba Klatman asks, your thoughts on DMT elves, entities? Are they being the Akashic Records guardians? Could that be possible? Now, for those of you who don't know, Akashic, I'm right there with you because I had to look it up. And there's only one website. There's only one website that I could find. So if you go to katrinacoltes.com, it's all about angels, and I don't know. I don't know if that's her or not.
She's an angel, I think.
Ask her.
So the Akashic realm, quote, is a place in the etheric plane or astral realm that holds the collective Akashic records for all of humanity. It is the book of life, which holds a dimension of wisdom that goes beyond what anyone can access through their personal Akashic records. It's derived from Sanskrit, translating into primary substance or hidden place. So they're wondering, do these elves, entities, guard the book of life?
I mean, it's like it's interesting. It's like you have a mind palace that you have the key to the door is DMT.
That everything about the universe and knowledge is all protected by these little shits.
Well, yeah, I guess you don't really get to see any of that. You just get to meet them. I don't know. Is that how that goes, Billy?
Did you have a feeling that they were like all knowledgeable, Billy? Like they were like,
They definitely knew more than me. But that, as they tore me up for being stupid for everything I think I am, it told me not to assume things either. So, in that situation, it's just like, I don't know if they're what they are because there's so many possibilities. And I mean, I just only had glimpses of it. So trying to assume what this realm is and everything else like that, I think that just makes us stupider.
yeah,
I got you.
would be. I mean, I would hate to be belittled. I really would, but
It was hilarious. I'm telling you, like,
I guess
hey, have you ever seen like some guys from Boston just ragging on each other? That's just what it was.
If they act anything like people from Massachusetts or anywhere up there, I'm gonna be pissed. Bunch of colorful jagoffs telling me
it's just too good. It's just too good of banter to be upset about.
Yeah. If one of them comes out wearing a Boston Bruins jersey, I'll swear to God, Billy.
Watch him burn his little gnome dick.
Oh, I'll be so pissed.
That was the other thing too. It's like when I was like really, it was towards the end as I was coming down was like when I was really like retaining what was going on, and I was like realizing like everything that had just happened / retaining what was going on. I could see like the actual room that I was in again, even though it was completely covered and the shapes and stuff like that. They weren't physical, like they were connected inside of the realm. They weren't able to break through into this realm at all.
Good. We better stay out of here because they know we have nuclear weapons.
So you couldn't punch him if you wanted to.
Well, mind over matter, Billy. Mind over matter. Bob, do you want to read this next one from our friend user Sky Dweller?
Yes, I do. So I was trying to see if I was understanding that. I've read the title, and that's just it. It's interesting, but
it's
so Sky Dweller says, "I wish Vishnu, which Vishnu is the triple deity of supreme divinity that includes Brahma and Shiva, and it's a supreme being who creates, protects, and transforms the universe. So I wish Vishnu and the DMT elves had their own TV show because they're so entertaining at times. Honestly, the godhead Vishnu is the most entertaining being I've ever met. Even more entertaining than the jesters. Ganesha is funny also. They teach you to have fun, but also he responsible. I'm assuming that's be responsible, but can you relate to that, Billy?
No, I've never experienced what he's experienced. The ones that I did see, yes, I was laughing with him, but I was the joke, but I was laughing at it. So I mean, it was funny.
Yeah.
Plus Face was not funny. He was very serious.
Plus Face wasn't fucking around.
He was running a show.
Like the data analyst for the records.
He was like, just putting in work. That's exactly numbers. What he was doing. He was putting in work. He was making motions happen.
So, and again, we have another religious connection. It feels like a religious experience at times that people are like, oh my God. Like, these things aren't here to tell me they're like a ruler of mine, but they're here to be like, hey, here's some enlightenment. Like happened.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we're working in the background here. You never see us.
Yeah.
A good buddy of mine, his first time he used it, he talked about this light that was just a white light that kept getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And he said it was the only way he could explain it was like the closest he's ever felt to something being God. So, there is a lot of like religious, and, these are from not super religious people. It's super spiritual, and the idea of like, there is so much more. So it does create a lot of religious undertones.
Yeah, that's something I want to look up too, because it'd be interesting from the science side. Near-death experiences have that same, or like when people actually die and come back to life, have that same type of euphoric feeling.
Isn't
I'd be interested to see how the drug interacts with the brain and how the brain interacts when it's almost dead.
am I wrong? Am I mistaken? Isn't the release of stuff in your head when you're close to death similar to a high-powered psychedelic?
Yeah, they say DMT is actually stored in your pineal gland, and that's the experience that you do have when you die. I don't know if that's actually 100% science-based. It's just a rumor that I've known for a long time. I've never actually like looked it up, or I don't know how
I've always heard the same thing. So yeah, I don't.
So I don't know. It very well could be true, and I would 100% believe that. Because people seeing the light and everything else like that, I could see where this experience is coming from, and that's also how you could get some of those those visions and religious experiences from people that ended up spreading. It's just near-death experiences and things like that, extreme sicknesses, and they come back and they're like, wow, I saw God. They explain what God is.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. It's kind of like a controlled religious experience, and I mean, when you watch the things on ayahuasca, that's obviously what they do. It is like a lot of
It's
these
usually like a ritual, and
a lot of these
shaman
psychedelics are used for that. And as we read things on Reddit, people are like, this is like like you said, Billy, I saw God. These aren't so when you originally brought this topic to me, I was like, oh shit, are we seeing like aliens and shit like that? But no, absolute opposite. People are in this next one, they're like, they're not aliens. They're not. Yeah, like they're intelligent, but they're not like they didn't evolve from like a planet somewhere to go into another dimension or something. They're just there.
Yeah, they're just there.
Yeah, because I mean the next one, this is a quick one. The user the 3 Reddit. The DMT elves are the most interesting beings I've met on psychedelics. They're definitely here to help guide us, but they're more than alien. It's as if they're a trip themselves. It's weird and carrying a message. I've seen the Alex Gray eyes turn into DMT elves. So, and another user, and he goes on to say it's literally impossible to explain verbally. We'll need to conjure up Dr. Seuss or something to even get close to finding the words to explain what the fuck you experience when you meet DMT elves. It's like a cosmic adventure with no limits. Just when you think one thing was beyond anything you could ever imagine, boom, another even more bizarre experience hits you. You just sit there in amazement, like, wow, this place actually exists. Holy shit. It's literally infinite. And in a way feels right. Like it's not scary, it feels good. So I mean, when we read through these, your experience is like I said, when you see those study numbers, like 96% of the people say the same thing as everybody, like,
and that's the thing. It's such a consistent, like a lot of people have the experience. And now, going on to Terence McKenna for a second, like he's someone that popularized the name machine elves. And there is a thought, like, would people be seeing these without him? He, like, has everybody who's seen these things heard him talk about it? And I mean, I personally had heard him talk about it before I ever experienced it, but I didn't know what it would be like. And I also didn't relate mine to elves the same way, because I remember thinking about it like right after I did it not too long ago. I was like, those wouldn't be considered elves, is my first thought at all.
Yeah. It's just classifying them for something anybody else to understand would
Yeah.
be like, that's all these fucking things that are things.
Trying to put it into a layman's term.
Is
just
and the other interesting thing too, like I said, is I went to go, usually when I do these outlines for any of these cryptids or anything, the first thing I automatically do is just put, this is what the motherfucker looks like. This is what people say they saw.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started researching it, it's like, I can't do that. Like that doesn't work at all. So it's a little bit different to try to go into that. But just for some people we heard, Billy, kind of what you went through with Plus Face Man and then the second one, but I have another one here, Bob, if you want to.
Yeah, I got it.
Wookie Blaylock.
Wookie Blaylock, 1 year ago, what did the DMT elves look like to you? And he wrote, in my experience, I smoked 2 bowls of DMT and 2 grams of shrooms and then took a shower. I had my head down and my eyes closed, letting the water beat against me. Then all of a sudden, the water stopped, which caused me to open my eyes and look up to see who turned off the water. And I wasn't in the shower anymore. I was in what looked to be a stone room. And in the center of this mechanical forge like thing with a beam of light running through it. While I was trying to figure out what I was looking at, I noticed some movement on the top of the machine. And I looked at it harder and our eyes met, the being I'm sorry, reading these is like you're trying
It's
to
so
piece
bad.
together.
It's so
You're trying to piece
bad.
together a run-on sentence.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Okay, so I looked at it harder, and our eyes met, being tilted, his head as a dog would when it's confused, and that's when I really got a good look at it. And it looked identical to one of those ugly ass gremlins from those movies, but it was wearing a brown robe like Yoda. The best I could describe it was an evil Yoda. It hopped down from the machine and it was operating, and I lost sight of it behind the machine, but I could feel it getting closer, and then boom, I was back in the shower.
See, that one feels like bull scat to me because I mean, I've literally had to grab the smoking device out of people's hands before because they can't set it down after they use DMT. So when he says I used 2 bowls of DMT and then got in the shower, it's like you don't have the motor function to even understand how to do that.
That's
So
what
you've like
the
passed the
comments,
test.
the comments are all like the same.
I don't buy it.
Exact thing.
Fake news. One does not simply smoke 2 bowls of DMT and take a shower. The other one says we require a minimum account age and karma. These minimums are not disclosed. Please try again if you know. But yeah. So everybody's saying you don't just smoke 2 bowls. It's a good thing you caught that, Billy, because no fucking way I would have known.
It's one of those things where it's like you don't. There's no.
Well, the 2 grams of shrooms wouldn't, unless he's in the shower for 4 hours, he wouldn't be going crazy like that.
I feel like just looking at some of these images, I would throw up. Absolutely throw up. I'd be like,
is it nauseating, really?
No, it's not. It's almost more dreamlike. And that's something else I wanted to get into too, is how it is almost more dreamlike. And that's the only thing that I like to look at these things a little bit logically at times and think about it and not just be like, oh my God, it was a spiritual experience. There's more out there. Because when we do dream, I have encounters with full conversations with people and all kinds of other things that do feel like they inhabit my dreams and that they feel as real as anything else until I wake up and I realize it, and I'm like, oh, that was a dream. But so it's more dreamlike than anything, and it is not really nauseating. And it's not like a roller coaster drop or anything like that. And the motions, it feels like you're flowing with them rather than like falling through them. Okay. If that makes any sense. Yeah. So I could see some people getting sick from it, but it's not like the spins or anything like that.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because I can't do that.
Like, have you looked at the GIFs of those moving?
Yeah, and those GIFs of those moving are very similar to like what you're experiencing, especially when you're going through what I call like the hyperspace tunnel.
I wonder if they have like any of these in like VR.
That's a good question too.
So? Uh-oh.
No, the computer.
Look at the sneeze.
Oh my goodness. Bless your heart.
Thank you. Oh fuck.
But that's the other thing too, is you can feel like the way it's moving. It's really weird. One friend one time described it as like hamburger meat going through a meat grinder. And I know that's hard to like understand, but that's almost like how it's like.
Is that what he hit the nail on the head?
Yeah, well, like I got torn into 1,000 pieces through a piece of metal.
It's just amazing. Like the way it's like this, everything about it. It's just such a weird analogy for it, but for some reason, it's always resonated with me.
You think
it'll make sense whenever I come around and do it.
I wish.
It's only 15 minutes, man.
Look, I tried. I actually did have that conversation with him. She flat
And
out
yeah,
was
you
like,
got to respect that.
I do. She's looking out for me because I have terrible OCD and anxiety. So she's like, you can't even, you couldn't even do the other things you've done without worrying about what 1 divided by infinity is, let alone heavier stuff. So, like, come on. But she's got a point. I would like hyperfixate on something, and then it would turn into
Mhm.
the plus face telling me about math for an eternity, and I wouldn't be happy. So on the other side of this, there's always 2 sides to a coin, 3 if you are an asshole. There is, this comes from user Autodidact 420.
Nice. Good
Yep.
name.
Yeah, this guy, he's the real deal. PSA, machine elves are not real independent entities. He says rational psychonaut has devolved into something like psychonaut. This is true. Half of the members here seem to actually believe in machine elves being real now. Y'all are abandoning science and reasoning by using a superficial understanding of the philosophy of science. Look, if you are reading anything ever, if you're in college or if you're at home and somebody writes sentences using like 5 words in a row that have more than 6 syllables in them, they're an asshole, and then none of it means anything. By using a superficial understanding of the philosophy of science is just garbage. But to go on, to essentially denote any evidence as equal to any other. None of that sentence makes any sense, and it makes me mad because literally when you go, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here, fuck it. When you go to college, if you write stuff like this, you'll get an A. They will give you an A. But when like an actual person reads it, they're like, that means nothing. All you had to do was say, you're not following the scientific method.
Yeah.
What is the scientific method? And okay, so
to this guy, it's a philosophy. Oh, that makes me mad right there. Really, I actually got 100% on a paper I wrote, and I'm going off, Bobby. I know, sorry, but
just go ahead.
I actually wrote. I had to read an article for political science, and I actually wrote in the article. I said most of what he wrote in here is gibberish. And I wrote it down like paragraph by paragraph, like this guy wasn't saying anything. And I turned it in and I got like 100%. He's like, yeah, most of what political science is just garbage. I was like, well, what the fuck?
Just saying a whole bunch of big words that don't really make any sense. There's nothing of there's nothing palpable to get out of that sentence.
No. But let's go on. So this guy's saying that nobody's following science. These elves aren't real. The top post on this sub has devolved into psychonaut, and the user suggests it's because we don't believe in these elves. How about get an actual rational discussion opinion to the front page of the sub instead of whatever that is, e.d. a challenge. If you think they're real, please post your evidence in a comment thread below. Convince me using modern standards of critical thinking and science if possible. Try not to go too far into the epistemological nature of maybe we don't know anything, as that's the problem I was pointing to at the start of this post and detracts from whether or not holding the specific position is rational and should be in its own topic of discussion. This guy was just as mad as I was earlier.
Okay, so this guy just doesn't like it.
All he had to say was like, hey,
doesn't
I believe in science. Yeah, there's all he had to say is like, I believe in science. Maybe they're not real. I don't see any proof for them. So here's the
like somebody who's just never done DMT and is posting a DMT.
That's my whole thing. Is like there's something about smoking DMT that really opens you up to how profound the whole. You know, it really was like I never knew that I could experience what I just experienced. So it opens you up to maybe there is so much more that I don't know.
Now, when we talk into theories, we'll get into it. But I mean, this is the other problem when you get into things that have higher consciousness and things like that. Is like, well, I don't have to give you evidence because it's something we don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like sorry, but you can't experience it unless you smoke this bowl of drugs that may or may not be mixed with something else. So I put that in there because like when you read through the comments, I mean the one just says, honestly, the sub is sort of inexperienced armchair masturbators of a kind of pseudo rationalism typical of bullshit dogma sites like Rational Wiki. And the other one says, I ask for evidence. And then
okay,
just
continue. Sorry.
Garbage. No, I just wanted to point that out because that's usually what people fight over in this.
Yes.
I usually like
I definitely somewhat agree with this guy, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like, because I don't want to just drink the Kool-Aid, but this guy is an asshole.
No, you smoke it, but no, I mean I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I've never done it. Do I think that there is? We'll get into it in theories. We'll worry about it then. But it's interesting. I always try to dive into the types of discussions that go on within different communities. You know what I mean? That's why Reddit is so good too, because not only do we get to see like first-hand accounts, but you get to see like the people who really believe this stuff and talk about it every day, how they discuss it with each other. And most of the time it's armchair masturbators.
Mm-hmm.
This is a picture of a cave painting that somebody thinks that might be DMT elves. Nothing really crazy. I didn't know if you've seen that. It doesn't really look like now. Like this doesn't mean as much to me now that you've explained that everything looks like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's just abstract art at this point. Eh?
Yeah, that's why I don't. I'm like, it could be that could be Brack.
Yeah,
that could be Zorak.
It could be Mystery Space 3000.
Yeah, it could be Mystery Science.
Watching a movie, watching a bad robot movie.
Oh god, that was such a good show.
It really was.
A lot of people obviously connect, like I said, with these ancient religions, connect it back to the old days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I at?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people want a connection with it too, to something that is more tangible to them. I hear a lot of people say that like DMT was placed here by aliens, so we could experience, this or that, and people want to relate it back to anything that they can hold some weight to. And I think when they do that, you're missing out on what the experience actually is for you. Like, it's not about always trying to understand where it came from or why it's doing that. It's like it's there and it was yours, and that was part of your journey of life.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, some people have this confirmation bias or this bias towards like their particular weird crypto thing. They're like, I am gonna suck off Bigfoot, so if I do DMT, I'm gonna see Bigfoot. You know what I mean? Like, like you said, Billy, and that's one thing I like talking to you is because you're like, yeah, I'm open to whatever, like whatever. Maybe somebody did suck off Bigfoot. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see pictures. If you got pictures, send them my way.
If you Google it, you will find it. I guarantee you that.
Just Google sexy Bigfoot. That's exactly what I searched for those pictures, was sexy DMT.
We have done
just
that,
like before when I searched sexy Jersey Devil.
The amount of things we put sexy in front of for the show is more than
my browser
Google
history is
search
completely
sexy,
fucked.
whatever we're talking about, you'll find the best pictures.
And for me, it's just add erotica at the end of anything I've ever searched.
Bobby gets dildo ads now because of all
Is that why he gets them now?
Yes, that's exactly the reason.
Yeah,
why.
easily. That's why always incognito, 100%.
I don't incognito ever. I just ruin my browsers.
Mistake. That's a mistake. All your cookies are just filled with weird erotic.
Dude, if people are gonna eat those cookies and be like, "This tastes like Bigfoot's," God, this is terrible.
So, we talked about the guy who is the driving force behind the, how would you say, the most popular theorist, most popular scientific man on the case.
Yeah, I call him like a psychedelic philosopher.
Yeah, he calls himself an ethnobotanist.
Okay.
Claims to be an
Okay,
expert
Terrence.
on the what's that?
I said, okay, Terrence. Whatever you want to be called, buddy.
Whatever. He's an expert, or claims to be. He's probably is an expert on the drugs themselves and
Mhm.
plants, as well as the creator of the novelty theory. So this took me a little bit to understand here, and I'm going to try to paraphrase the novelty theory without fucking myself. But so the theory pushes that time, space, and relativity become more complex as our consciousness and creativity increase in complex. So, if I start out as a caveman with just rocks and fire, time, space, and what I'm able to do in time and space is very simple. When I become an astrophysicist who does DMT, time and space changes to be more complex. And the further we go along in time, the more our consciousnesses can develop together, maybe create mass consciousness, maybe create mass creativity, can create a world that's outside the laws of physics we know now because we're more creative then. That's the best way I can describe it. If you don't get it,
Yeah, it helps to help me out. I still don't get it, but I understand more. You put it that way.
so let's say
I mean, I
if
kind
you
of
can
understand
imagine,
it.
if you can imagine a more complex universe, Bobby,
Yes.
and if everybody started imagining that and acting like that, that's how our universe would be.
Got it. That's.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I said okay.
It's a theory. It's a theory. Yeah.
Yep, I read it. And I was like, yep, got it. So it's definitely a lot of consciousness, and yeah, he also pushes this theory that he's like, hey, when the Mayan calendar ends in 2012, our brains are going to go the fuck off. Like, we are going to become super fucking amazing. And the world just went to shit. Like, we just got worse.
And that's why you have to take everything he says with a grain of salt for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I see what the thought process is like, hey, we expand our consciousness, we're going to be able to do more things as a civilization, right? And we know that drugs have led to a lot of creative inventions and art, things like that.
Yeah, one of my biggest problems and something I hate about Terrence McKenna is just how sure he seems sometimes of things, especially like, you know, how much he's done. He still is so sure of it, and I don't understand how you could feel so sure after everything that you're experiencing.
Well, in my humble opinion, you got to, in order to sell them books and shit, you got to be confident.
You got to be confident, and that might be a little bit more of what it is too. You know, selling books.
Yep, that's why some of these big name guys, it's hard to. I mean, some of the like these theories, and especially the next one that I talk about, kind of, they're pseudo-scientific. Like, they're not based in any fact. Like, I can't pull apart what he's talking about. But if I laid it down on paper, you're like, oh, all those scientific words blend together and make sense. And that's how people. So in the next one, you probably heard it if you listen to the Joe Rogan show. Is that stoned ape theory, right? So when our evolutionary tree started to take off and we started to come down from trees and move from between grass fields and things like that, we also started to change our diet and started eating a psychedelic mushroom early on. Now, this goes back to his novelty theory that this psychedelic mushroom led to a big evolutionary jump in thought and how their brains worked and what kind of creativity they could use by creating tools and ways to work together and views on the world. created a rampant sexual activity to procreate more, and that this boom in thought and creativity and procreation led to the progression of mankind. So
yeah, I don't believe that at all.
I don't
because
either.
because I mean, there's reindeer that eat mushrooms all the time to trip. There's lots of accounts of tons of animals that have been using drugs for a long time, and we don't have any other branches off of higher collective consciousness or many other species other than what we think of apes evolving from. I think it just was a need, more of a desire at the time, to use tools and get better slowly over time. I don't think it was because they were taking drugs and being more conscious and then breeding more and eating better. I don't think maybe drugs could have had some effects on, like, monkey eats drugs, figures out he can use this tool differently, starts using that tool differently, and the next monkey starts seeing him use that tool differently and also uses that tool. But I don't think it was like and a consciousness explosion that created more folds in our brains.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, like you said, a lot of the psychedelics too, not for nothing, like you said, if you take 2 hits of DMT, you're not doing, like, you're just gonna sit there and like, so like I said, I don't buy it into it either. Now, when he explains it the way he does, it like, hey, you think more creatively when you're stoned all the time, things like that. And it leads to all these great ideas. Like, yeah, it does happen, but it doesn't happen like there's plenty of ideas where people come up with their stone. It's like, no, like that's the worst idea you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
Like, so I use that as an example because it sounds like, hey, yeah, that's cool. But then when you really think about it, it's
Yeah.
like, no,
on the surface, it sounds, yeah, you can get that together. And then when you do break it down and piece it together, and you're just like, no, it's just a bunch of,
yeah, a lot of people think they're better driving drunk, but
yeah.
I mean, go on.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, the Art Bell shows. I don't know, Bob, if you ever listened to one of his, but it's
I haven't listened to. I really haven't. I didn't know anything kind of stuff like that. But when you're saying all that stuff with, he's so confident, maybe he is selling books, and then I was thinking of the Art Bell show at that moment when he said that, because like anybody that's on the Art Bell show is always pushing something. There's never like, they always have some funny bits, or they say stuff that's really, it's fun to listen to, and it kind of makes your mind think and stuff like that. But at the end of like everything that they talk about, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to this conference and I need to sell these books, and I'm a publisher and stuff like that. And I'm just like, well, this is all just a fantasy that you're just selling these books. Some people on there are talking, and they call in, they say truly cool things that they aren't pushing anything, but most of the time all those big guests were just plugging.
Yes. Yeah. Now, Bob, do you have anything before we get into your books?
No, I kind of want to delve into theories a little bit, but I really don't. I mean, besides theory, I don't have any experience or really any research on any DMT stuff to really like. I didn't listen to Joe Rogan stuff when he went deep into DMT. Well, he does that often, but I just I'll just go into theories and just babble on some stuff in my head that probably doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But
well, without
you know who I like listening to talk about things like this? Mike Tyson.
I have
does Mike Tyson go off on it?
Oh yeah, Mike Tyson's done a lot of psychedelics, and when he talks about it, it's funny because he's a little, I would hate to say it because I don't want to get punched in the mouth, but unstable and crazy. But it's just off the wall, and it's fun to listen to him talk about it because it's like he makes it scary in his own way too.
Yeah,
because he's just scary fellow.
It was funny. I was listening to something. I read something, and it's like Mike Tyson is literally just Mike Tyson from Mike Tyson Mysteries, and I started watching that show, and it's completely batshit insane. And I was like, but that's Mike Tyson, 100% the whole entire time.
Mike Tyson talks. There's actually, I think, a YouTube video I saw it years ago where he talks about when he did 5-MeO DMT, which is like, it's different than regular NN DMT. It's what is on like the African cane toad and stuff like that. So I've never actually used 5-MeO myself. I've read some personal first-hand accounts like we're doing right now about it, but it's a cool video to watch. So
I'm getting the Mike Tyson stuff.
Well,
Yeah, are you going into the corner?
I think we are. Do you want me to read this one real quick before you get
It's-
started?
Yeah, you can. I read a few of them, but they weren't any. I wrote one.
Okay.
I don't have. But like I read a bunch of this stuff.
Do you want me to prime this pump here?
prime it up.
You want me to get the lube out and start it up? This comes from
A little bit of foreplay going on.
Reddit user Dreamspitter. Erotic DMT entities, raunchy, well-proportioned fairies of impossible beauty, liquid neon cat girls that want to kiss and melt with you, hermaphroditic insect god, I haven't read this yet, I just found it, that make love to you as they eat the necrotic parts of your soul and purify your being. The DMT experience, from reports I have read, can take erotic tones. Although the imagery can resemble the humanistic form, it can take complete alien forms as well. I have a few questions. Number one, have you ever had a trip with erotic elements, even if it seems insane to the sober mind, and what was it like? Have you ever tried to smoke DMT at the height of an orgasm or in the afterglow? What about after abstaining from sex? What effects, if any, did it have on your trip? Number three, if you believe hyperspace to be a spiritual realm, do you have a lover or spouse on the other side, and what is your relationship like? The notion is reported to be widespread in shamanistic traditions. So, yeah.
It was funny, Billy. You might be able to lean in on this a little bit. When I was doing my research, for the corner, a lot of people's firsthand experiences were often erotic or sexual in some nature. It just seemed like it was a common occurrence. And from what I'm talking to you and from what I'm reading and these other things, this is not that common. I might just be on the other side of the internet.
You got plus face, man. No neon cat girls for you, buddy.
I have never had an erotic experience with DMT, nor even thought of anything sexual while I was on DMT.
But have you smoked DMT at the height of an orgasm?
No, I've never been intimate while I'm using DMT. I normally like to.
Sounds like you can't. To be honest.
Is this something you're going to try?
No, I mean, I was thinking about it as he was saying that. I mean, it would be entirely possible if you were having, say, like a sexual favor done to you, and right before you wait, you took a hit of it, and then seeing what happened. I could see somebody trying that.
That's interesting. That's actually
because I mean, you're already laying
cool.
down.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
It's an interesting thought. I don't think it's something I'd really want to experience, just because.
Come on, don't tell me you wouldn't want to experience that. Come on.
Well, it takes a lot of bravery for me to do that. So I think that would be something I'd be thinking about the whole time. I'm just anticipating when I'm going to use it and ruin the first experience of the first. I don't want to ruin one.
It would just never happen.
You can just edge yourself face man again while you're right on the edge.
Ah, shit!
Oh, God damn it!
Because I mean, it every time I use it, it's a nerve-wracking experience when you think about it, like, because it's like true. It's never like something you want to take super lightly. I used to like to drink before I did it, because I could go farther, because I wouldn't be as scared. So if I got a little bit tipsy and then I used it, I'd because sometimes you hedge your bet, like you'll be hitting it and you just you're like, maybe I shouldn't, and you hedge your bet a little bit. You don't take as much as you should or you wanted to originally, and then you don't go as far.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It would be. You kind of talked me out of it, Billy. This guy says, my very first DMT experience consisted of a smorgasbord of hyperdimensional naked female entities that grinded and gyrated all over my spirit body. It was very tantalizing and highly erotic introduction. So without further ado,
Yes, Bob, lay it on us. This is my favorite.
So Bob, hit us with some books about some neon cat girls.
I wrote this not knowing about the Fibonacci walls and the colors of the buildings. So.
Just tell us about these elves that are about to make love to us while we're high on DMT. That's all we want to know.
So the book's called Purple Polyamorous Pixies. And
did you come up with that?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man.
I like alliteration. It's fun.
If you are the Terrence McKenna creative novelty theory.
Oh, Cabo.
You ready to listen to erotica, Cabo?
She turned her head.
Okay. So I'll jump in on this little story, this little synopsis of the book that I didn't write.
Give me some pixie dust, baby.
I stepped through the wood line and into a clearing during my hike in the Dixie National Forest. I can hardly believe what I'm seeing. 3 men and 4 women out here in the middle of nowhere and completely naked. They waved me over to them. My curiosity grabs hold of me, and I can't deny. All the men look exactly the same. Tall, purplish, completely toned muscles, and well hung. The women all identical too. Long legs and long torsos that never seem to end. We're missing one man. Do you mind joining us for the fun? One of the women say. This is just the beginning of my psychedelic journey as I was about to hit the peak of my trip.
I love it. See?
It's just, it's dumb. But
no, it's good. It's Bob, I'm telling you. It sounds like I actually just read that out of a book.
I hate myself, but yes.
I'm sitting here in my right in my little comfy chair, and I'm thinking about this huge purple penis that you vividly described. And I'm like, wow, there's 3 big penises, and I'm walking in with this average little guy ready to rock and roll.
They want it.
I'm rock hard right now, so
you gotta even it up. But,
well,
yeah.
So now that we're through the hard stuff, awful puns, theories. I think there's only 2 ways to go about this.
Mm-hmm.
1, they're hallucinations. 2, they're not. Like that's. I mean, there's really no other theories outside of those 2 things, right?
So I think I kind of think it was a gift from the Jersey Devil.
No.
Here he goes. He's on it. I'm surprised you didn't, man, freak out or trip about that at all ever before. That would be scary. Much, yeah. I would actually be scared if I had hallucinations about the Jersey Devil.
I see, and that's the other thing with DMT. It's not like acid or mushrooms in a lot of ways, where I say it's a lot more dreamlike. It's almost like it's so much kinder than a lot of psychedelics. It really is. And I've never personally had a bad experience on it. Even though I say that I'm nervous and stuff when I use it, because I am, because I mean there's always the chance and everything else like that. But it's always it's a very warm and gentle experience. You know, it might be fast and chaotic and forever, but it's never been bad.
So instead of like buy the ticket, ride the ride, it's more like take a sleep and dream the dream. It's not. It's.
I mean, it's like take a sleep and. No, you're still taking the ride. It's more of a ride than acid or anything else, because acid or mushrooms that I've experienced, but it's not as hard on your body or anything else like that, and it's really soft and light and doesn't like make you ever feel like crap, or it's not like up and down waves or everything else like that. It's just like it's happening and then it's not happening.
It just sounds less emotional than the other psychedelics.
It makes sense to be nervous too. You're giving your consciousness up. Like, I am voluntarily going to go out of consciousness and not know what I'm about to do.
Mm-hmm. And it is very it's not what I'm about to do, it's about what is about to be happening around me, because you're not really worried about what you're doing, because you're just where you were, like where you use it, you're not really going anywhere. You're not freaking out, you're not moving around, so you're not worried about like what am I going to do while I'm on it. It's where am I going to be taken.
Makes sense. So, what do you think, Billy? What do you think?
And my biggest theory on this, personally, I I definitely went into a lot of this stuff where I used to be more atheist, and now I'm a lot more agnostic because of it. I believe it was spiritual enough to make me think, yeah, there is a lot more out there that I cannot understand or even fathom, and maybe these gates are not meant to be open to me to the point where I'm able to understand them completely. But there is something about it, and it is very important to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you go
That's
through
what
it,
that's what I think. I have a theory on if it's, machine elves or they're higher beings or, gods or anything else like that. No, I don't, because I don't know shit. But
Just a
yeah,
spiritual
I mean,
event.
and that's basically what they told me is I don't know shit, and I'm okay with that.
That
I love
sounds,
that.
yeah. I like that too.
What do you think, Bob?
I don't know. I mean, without never have done it, doing it before, like I can't. I mean, it's I don't know. Like it sounds just like hallucinations, but I've done
And it is.
psychedelics, but it doesn't. It sounds. It's way different than what I've ever done or
You
felt.
did the
So
you did the not so fun ones.
yeah, I've done the rough ones, I guess.
And the
And
rough ones are fun too, and they so like when you do acid for the first time, you're like, wow, this is way different than I could have ever thought it was
yes,
going to
yeah,
be.
yeah,
And but that's what DMT is like, only it's like so much more profound because it's not based on what's around you in the world that we live in. It's based on like another place that you've
yeah.
never been before.
Now, besides like people putting in like earworms and other people before like maybe tripping or sharing stories and stuff like that, besides before smoking, like I with the machine elves and seeing the similar things all the time, at least with like beings, but it sounds like it's always going to be a bunch of weird stuff on not on walls, but you're in something that has a bunch of you know Fibonacci spirals and all this weird stuff, and everything's moving and stuff like that. But like, I mean, the elves could be really range from anything. So it just does it affect everybody the same in the brain, and this is what you see, and this is what you feel. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a toss up. I think it's hallucinations, and then it's very spiritual. It seems from Billy's firsthand account.
Yeah, I think
Which is cool.
that it makes sense. I don't know enough about it I don't know enough about the science of it to.
Yeah,
that's another thing is I don't really know that much about the science, and I don't think science know that much about the science of it.
No, because like
that's
what. Go ahead.
I was just looking up to see like when it was created, how it was made, or who, what chemist or naturally and stuff like that. And I'm just like reading all these like numbers and symbols and letters.
Okay, so it is completely natural. It's actually in most it's in a lot of different plants. That's the thing. It's in a lot of things even around you all the time. It's in tires. So it is a naturally occurring chemical in all kinds of nature. And most of the time when it's used or ingested, it's not being synthesized like a lot of other drugs. It's being extracted out of plants. So there's a couple of different plants that have high yields of it that people extract it out of. And that's what ayahuasca is. They actually take bark that has high amounts of DMT in it, and they mix it with a vine. And that vine is the MAO inhibitor, and the bark is the DMT. So, I mean, it's been around since ancient civilizations, especially down places like South America. I don't know how long that they've actually figured out that they could use it, but I think it's way before time has been recording it.
Yeah. I think that I know that. Yeah, like Billy said, it's naturally occurring. It's just finding a way to extract it is the end all be all for most of it. I think that I mean, if it is true that like near death experiences shoot out the same type of physiological and psychological response, such as like in a lot of near death experiences, they're like I greeted an intelligent life form that was like calming to me and joyous, and everything felt all right. It could be the same, just when you do DMT, it
naturally
could just be
occurring,
like
yeah.
overdrive. Like, could just be
Yeah,
like,
but
yeah,
the
get
also
ready to
the
go.
theory is, when you're having the DMT released in your brain, that is the bridge for your soul to be able to escape your body into that realm.
That too. Yes. Which I don't know.
Again, I don't know shit, but
Yeah.
that's and it does is a very plausible theory in my eyes. Like, yeah, that's why I'm very open to that idea, because that does
Yeah, I mean,
make.
yeah, you've been through it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the craziest thing to me is that might not be the only one either, because there could be more that we don't even have access to gates or keys to.
Yes.
Once you realize what there is, once you realize like how different the DMT dimension that you go through and the experience is from anything that you could ever find plausible before, what's stopping it from there being even more unexplainable or completely different? It really makes you have a feeling of infinity. That's one thing a lot of people will say about DMT. And so why is there only one infinity is another question.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I can't do it. Done. You dissuaded me. I'm not gonna do it.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay, Rich.
Not,
it's not, and that's what I was saying earlier too. It's not for everybody. It's
that
one of those
scares me
things
to think about right
like,
now.
No, Billy, go ahead.
If it's something that you feel like you would be interested in, then and you find a way to seek it out, then I think it could be right for anybody who's confident and ready to try that
Not
stuff.
anymore.
Again, I've only ever seen one person have a bad time on it. He was also very wasted, and he does have some mental problems. It's not somebody that I would have given it to at the time that they took it, but they didn't anyways without me, without my approval.
People didn't do it.
He had a bad time because he couldn't wrap his head around what we experienced.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is there? I know ayahuasca is it's supposed to be like an actual shaman, not like just some guy off a road saying, "Hey, I can give you ayahuasca. I'm a shaman, by the way." And you go. But for like DMT, is it just like you in your house and you're just like, "Yeah, I got some DMT," or
yeah.
do you? Yeah. Is that it?
Okay, so that's another thing is, when I first started doing it, I was really more interested. Like, I wanted to make sure I was in good environments, like outside, laying under the stars, things like that. And the more I did, especially DMT, the more I was like, I'm better off being in a bed where I'm extremely comfortable, because then you're not paying attention to the distractions around you, because those hold you back.
It's like you should do it in like a saltwater tank and like a.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be an excellent place to do it. Just a saltwater tank, one of those tanks that make it so you have no sensory tank. That would be a great place to do it.
I can't. Absolutely can't.
But I've done it outside, like laying in the grass before, and I could feel the rocks on me and stuff like that the whole time. So I couldn't like leave and really, because it sensory things in the real life will hold you back. So that's why I feel like DMT is better there. Ayahuasca, I think again,
shit in my pants.
The kid I was with didn't puke. I puked, but not that much. It wasn't like painful pukes, but I was also very irresponsible. I was very young at the time when I did it. I was just in an apartment, and we did it after working and then drinking.
Hey, you guys want to have a spiritual experience? Let's go.
No, I didn't want to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna explain something. With ayahuasca and MAOI inhibitors, there's certain things you can't do, and this is why you're supposed to fast for 24 hours beforehand, because with an MAOI inhibitor, it allows other things to break your blood-brain barrier, and there's stuff in beer and cheese and meat and stuff like that can cause it. So you literally have hypersensitivitis and you die from it, because there's like this thing called teramine. I think it's like teramine or something like that is in it, and if too much of that gets into your brain, it can kill you. Or if you're on any kind of SSRIs or mood stabilizers or inhibitors, cocaine, MDMA, things